Thank you all for coming to say goodbye.
You know, it's kind of a happy, sad occasion, really. It's a little mixture of everything. You can feel happy for a minute, and then you can feel sad. Happy again.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you all for coming to say goodbye. Over the last few months, I've had so many people reach out to me. First, when we went through really hard times and we had our layoffs, and later when I made my announcement last week with calls and emails and letters. It truly touched me. So I'll try not to get too emotional today, but excuse me if I lose it somewhere along the line. 32 years ago this October, my father started this business in New Jersey. I was living in New York City when he changed the name from Modern Acceptance Corporation to the Money Store. Although I was supposed to be going to full-time to law school, I was basically showing up for midterms and finals. This was because I was already entering what was called the counterculture. So the two things that were in the universe that were furthest from my consciousness were the law school that I was supposed to be enrolled at and the money store, especially the money store. First, it was a business. Second, it was in New Jersey. And third, it was called the money store. It never entered my mind that I might someday work there. Well, 10 years later, I was living on 40 acres, 17 miles outside of Nevada City in a cabin on a dirt road overlooking the Yuba River and Tahoe National Forest. In the intervening years, I had been a writer and editor for underground newspapers, started and ran a natural food restaurant in the country, picked grapes, tutored children, and worked in the circus. It was clear that I was ready for the money store. Regardless of what I thought my destiny was at that point, I was obviously being led through some bizarre circumstances to a point in which I found myself ready to enter the family business in need of money and some stability. And so I moved from the cabin in the foothills down to Southern California to start the money store on the West Coast, on Ventura Boulevard in Encino. That's right, Encino, in the heart of San Fernando Valley. So I arrived in Los Angeles in 1979 without a single clue about how to run a business. First, without a clue about how to be decisive. I certainly wanted my vision and ideas to control what we did in Los Angeles, but I was also busy wanting everyone to feel good about me and feel good about themselves. Well, you understand. So I would avoid being direct and being the boss. That took me about 15 years to learn. I was also without a clue about delegating. As soon as someone made the slightest mistake or did anything that didn't live up to my standards, I was ready to step in and take over. And finally, without a clue about my own strengths and weaknesses, I began hiring people who thought like me, who talked like me, and probably even looked like me. Then one day I talked to this corporate psychiatrist named Richard Poth. Some of you will remember Richard. And he said to me, "Mark, everyone you hired around here is 6'3" tall and loves basketball. They're all smart and verbal and creative. They make great salesmen and motivators and talkers, but no one does anything. You probably need some people who do things, organize things, and plan things." Well, Richard was right, of course, but it had never occurred to me. And with it, the company grew. From the day I joined, we had a couple of hundred people to today close to 6,000. From a couple $100,000 in profits to $150 million in profits from a mom and pop business to the most successful public financial services company in all of Wall Street for 5 consecutive years. But these are not the memories that will remain the strongest in me. What I remember most, and I will remember most, are the images of the people I've worked with and the times that we've shared together. I'll remember forever, our Christmas parties. From the blues bands, from the first blues bands at Maury's Place. Anybody here remember Maury's Place? Anybody want to admit it? Where I ended up serving food in the food line because we didn't have any servers. To the Hotel El Rancho, back when it was the Hotel El Rancho before it was a Buddhist temple, I guess, where we got into all kinds of trouble. To the great parties with Mumbo Gumbo, thank you guys, with 5,000 people all dressed up at the community center. And the picnics each September that we had with all the kids and the families and the friends. The Rusty Nails played music and the kids in those inflatable things that they jump up and down in. I'll remember those really clearly. I can't remember what they're called, however. I'll also remember the meetings that we had, playing golf of all things for me, in Durango, Colorado, where the air was so thin that Bob Thome passed out. And full court basketball games with Jeff Rogers and the other guys, really serious games in Scottsdale, and finding an all-night private club where we joined and became members for one night so we could go drinking and dancing in Hershey, Pennsylvania. This is the part where I can't read. I have got a clue about what I've written here. As I leave the money store, I'll also remember working on community projects here in Sacramento, where we moved outside of our traditional business roles into just people working together, trying to accomplish things in the community. And Mary Robertson, if Mary's here, she always supported me in all of those endeavors, along with Paula Denham and Karen Hoffman, but Mary most of all, helping to make some of my dreams manifest. I remember turning out hundreds of employees, telling people, you got to leave work, you got to go there, and they'd say, what is this Rancho Seco thing? And we'd say, just go. And we formed a business group of all things to close down our unsafe nuclear reactor, Rancho Seco, and we put up billboards all over town, and we got 130 businesses to join this group to close down Rancho Seco. And then stopping the rice burning 2 times, we worked to draft the legislation and form the business groups, and you guys remember all that. And then our STEP program, where we met 2 times a week with kids that were at risk in the local high schools right here in our buildings. And so those are the things I'll remember. I'll also remember the meeting, along with the meetings and the projects and the people. Most of all, I'll remember the people I spent 20 years with. My wonderful assistants, Julie Jones in the early years and Jolene Moliat most recently, women who never had a bad day. And people like Ludi Zarek, who took a stranger in a wheelchair with severe physical handicaps into her home and whose compassion has always inspired me. And Steve Lawrence, a young man who was about 15 when he joined our STEP program, who was at risk along with the other kids, and who then graduated, came to work here, has worked here for 5 years, and recently recorded his first CD. And all the single mothers who came here and supported their families, Paula Denham and Karen Hoffman and Dina Parrish and Heidi Rodriguez, and on and on and on. Those are the things I'll remember. I'll also remember the people who work with me most closely, sort of the inner circle. Bill Templeton, whose heart was his single greatest asset. Paul Lilikoff, who always tried to do what made the most sense. John Reeves, who preferred to stay in the back rooms but kept stepping forward time and time again when I'd ask him to. Larry Wodarski, who was committed to perfection. And Mary Robertson, who worked harder than anyone. And Mike Benoff, who was a perfect mental foil for me. And Morty and Harry and Jimmy and Bob and Steve and Bill, and on and on and on. You get the idea. These are the memories that will remain with me. I thank you all for these times together. I'm going to miss you all.
Goff, who is president of the Commercial Lending Division, is in Charlotte traveling this week and couldn't be here for the festivities. This place is going to be very, very different. It is not going to be the same place without Marc's daily presence and his daily involvement. I think he calls it stirring the pot. On the other hand, Marc's going to have much deserved time with his family and his friends and to pursue his very many and diverse special interests outside of the business. So for some of those who think that maybe that we've heard the last of Marc Turteltaub, my guess is that you'd be wrong. And not just because he happens to have the biggest King's banner in all of Sacramento. Marc, you are a unique and great individual, and you will be truly missed. And I would like to say to you from my heart that I am so thankful to know you. I just passed my 10-year anniversary here at the company, and you have afforded me more opportunity here than I could have ever hoped to seek elsewhere. And I want you to know that for that alone, you will always have a special piece of my heart, and you will always be special in my thoughts because of that.
I'm here to tell you about Marc and the left-handed Lithuanian students of UCLA. The story goes like this. In the early days of Educade, Marc went to UCLA, as the story goes, and explained that we were a new student lender, and he was trying to encourage them to send us business. They said they didn't need an additional lender, and Marc said, well, don't you have any special case students that aren't being adequately served by your existing lenders? Maybe we could help. And they said, well, just so happens that we do have a special need for our left-handed Lithuanian students. Marc said, that's interesting because Educade just developed a special loan program for left-handed Lithuanians. And so we started getting some loans. And so over the years, I probably heard that story 20 times. Well, when the word got out that Marc was retiring, something showed up in the FedEx yesterday from UCLA.
But I thought for all of you that are standing in this magnificent atrium, I'd share just one story about the building of the building that everyone might find a little bit interesting. We were trying to figure out what the building was going to look like and how big it was going to be, and one day Marc says, I want to go out to the site and I want you to have a crane out there. And I said, well, why on earth would you want a crane out there? So a small group of us came out to the site, and Marc climbed into this little bucket crane, and we took the crane up 160 feet up into the air. And Marc's up 160 feet in the air, and he's saying, no, to the right. No, move it to the left. Bring it up some. Bring it down some. And finally he says, this is it. And that is the third dimension where his office is right now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Templeton. This is really a very, very special day today in recognizing Marc as the CEO of our wonderful company, and for the first time, not having the Turteltaub family be directly involved with the money store since its beginning. As someone that's been with this organization for 26 years, I could stand here for hours and tell you stories of how both Alan and Marc had the vision and the commitment to make this company what it is today. It has really set the stage for us as an organization to now even go to the next level. So I'm here today with some sadness in my heart because I've, for my entire career, worked for the Turteltaubs. And Marc in particular has really helped me in so many ways over the last 7 years since I came out here from New Jersey. I've said to him privately that I've grown more in the last 7 years than I probably grew in the previous 15. Our company grew, we had fun doing it, and most of all, we had Marc's respect for us as people, as humans, in addition to his vision on a professional level. And I know he takes great pride in having that strong character.